All right, I'm going to be painting Nagash today. I've already got some work done on him already, as you can see. Uh, got a little bit of the fade going here. Going to work on that some more. Um, so today I'm going to be working on blending more of the, well, not quite black into the deep blue, and then bringing down the deep blue a little bit more into some of the ghostly bits. I'm just going to be glazing this. For those of you who don't know, glazing is just basically using super thinned paint and layering it over and over again. And what that does, it dramatically will change the effect. So first of all, let me get my paint mixed up. Gonna have my paint tray over here, my wet palette. If you don't have one of these, I highly recommend getting one. This is just going to be Citadel's Thunderhawk blue paint. No, it's not very focused, but so anyway, I'm just getting this on my paint palette. I'm going to then bring a little bit of water over to make it extra thin. Another thing I recommend when doing glazing is to have paper towel handy. You're not going to be seeing this because it's in my lap, but what I like to do is basically just dry off a little bit of it. That way you don't get too much paint. I actually just took a little bit too much off there. Just a little dab or two is all you need to get rid of it. And so what's going to happen here is I'm going to drag this down a little bit. And you see, because it's so thin, it's just going to change the color of that ever so slightly to bring out that blue color. So what I have on here already is a mixture of Straken green and Thunderhawk blue. And that's kind of that bluish green mix. The camera going. I apologize. This is first broadcast, so there we go. It's a little bit better. So yeah, I'm just going to be trying to bring out that color. One thing I will say about glazing is it is a very time-consuming process, so I have all time in the world to paint this, so hope you guys are interested. Bring out a little more of that, and I am going to go back over this later. Well, I mean, there's a lot of work doing this, but I'm going to go over these sections and really do some edge highlighting and whatnot. But for now, I'm just working on getting this bluish color blown out a little bit more. And as I mentioned before, working on getting that black to blue fade as well. So, it's just, yeah, that's all it is, just very thin paint. This is all just that first batch of paint, I believe, so get a better view of that. There we go. So yeah, I'm just going to bring this down a little bit more. Get some more paint in my brush. Sorry, you're going to be hearing a little spraying. That's me just adding some more water to my wet palette. I like to use a little spray bottle so that I can top off the sponge, make sure it stays nice and wet. Last thing you want is to waste your paint. So a little backstory on this miniature. I got this several years ago, and I've been putting it off because it's a pretty imposing piece. I mean, it's 12 inches tall and $100 miniature, so I really wanted to do it justice. And basically, I just put it off until I knew that I was going to be able to do what I wanted to with it. So spent many years working on painting other undead miniatures, mostly vampire counts. So worked on really good at getting bone painted. Up here comes my cat Ninja. He yep, hey Ninja. Up, nope. Gotta move, kitty. Let's go. Come on. I call him my Forge World Werepanther because he destroys things as he walks around. So you might be, well, I guarantee you'll be seeing more of him. Nope, kitty, you gotta go away. Get down here. It's okay. Yeah. Nope, don't bump the camera. Nope. All right, come on, kitty. Let's go. Nope. Gotta get down. Yep. There you go. I know. All right. So where were we? That's right. Back to glazing. So anyway, yeah, I wanted to make sure I was solid on painting bone. All of my experience painting skeletons and things like that, definitely at that point. But I wanted to be able to do ghostly fades. I'm kind of going for is going to be similar to this guy here. He's not quite done yet, but you can see I've got kind of this similar ghostly fade going here, going down to a little bit lighter. Oh, there we go. And then up top, this is not going to be the case in this miniature, but I made sure to oh, see if I can get him in there. Not going very well. All right. Anyway, you get the idea. So, trying to replicate that for Nagash. All right, so let's continue just trying to draw out that blue. One thing, note for glazing is you really want to be mindful of where you draw that paint to. So you'll see I'll draw it down, and then you don't want to have little bubbles left because that will dry that way, and you don't want that if you're trying to get a nice fade. So you'll see me draw it down and then draw it back up to kind of blend it a little bit better. So as I mentioned, just bringing out that bluish color. And if you do this too much, what's going to happen is you're basically just going to get the blue color. You're going to get whatever color you're glazing. So you really want to make sure that you have thin enough paint to do that. So, I mean, a lot of water needs to be added, but keep in mind to just kind of dab that off on your paper towel is what I use because you can use them for a long time before you have to get a new one. So yeah, just bring that down. Better angle here. Yeah, so there you got a little bit of that blobbing going on. Don't want to have that, so. So yeah, this miniature. Also, another thing you notice is that you kind of get a little bubbling if you aren't careful, and that again will dry that way. So I'm going to go ahead and use a dry paintbrush and get that pulled out and just remove it essentially, and then go back over it with the brush that has the paint on it. So yeah, I want to bring this down about here, about halfway through the little ghostly spindle. And as I said, I'll be going through this later with some edge highlighting and some more blending to really, blow out the edges, and also putting some colors in the recesses. But that's for another day because this is going to definitely take a while. Right, so that's a little blue there, but again, you have to kind of wait for it to dry to get the full effect of it. So it's almost like dry brushing, not quite like wet brushing. Wet blending. Wet blending is where you basically have wet paint on your miniature and you have wet paint on your brush and you kind of blend them together. I'm not terribly good at that technique. I found glazing to be Kind of my preferred method, but that doesn't mean that you can't do wet blending or other advanced techniques uh, that definitely do work. So really just personal preference. I'll be doing some other stuff, showing how you can do wood grain with glazing, add some nice detail to your miniatures that you otherwise might not have. So yeah, I'm just blending some of that darker color right here. And the nice thing about glazing is not only will it bring out the blue color, or not only will it ramp up the color in one area, but if you do it on an area where you're trying to blend it, you're actually going to tone down dark and tone up the light color. So it really makes a nice smooth transition uh, if you can do it correctly. And this takes time. Very thin paint. You can see on this side, I did some of the glazing of the dark, but it's not quite where it needs to be, especially in this area here. So clicking here is me just refreshing my brush, cleaning it off a little bit, and then reapplying some more of the paint. Try to get a better camera setup going forward here. Alright, so let's bring this down a little bit. A few more of those bubbles that I was telling you about that you don't want to have. You can kind of see some of the brush strokes in here too. I went a little too aggressively with some of the dark color up there, but nothing you can't fix. That's beauty of painting. Half of it is knowing how to fix mistakes. So if you do something you don't like, you can always redo it. Chances are I can redo it. Sometimes you can screw things up so badly you can't recover, but that's very rare. I've only had that happen a couple times in my early days of painting. Alright, so let's see how this is looking. Want to bring that blue down probably about, let's see here. So I brought it down about there. Pretty good there, which means it needs more over here. Obviously, this is just subjective, but since I'm bringing down the darker color, I really want to make sure that this bluish gets dragged out further to really extend that fade to make it really pop. So anyway, I'm Shred. I've been painting for many years, probably about 5 years. I'm in no way, in shape, or form a master painter. I guess I would quantify my abilities as well, above average, but by no means the best. A lot of better painters out there than me, but still feel like I have some stuff to show everybody. Some nice tips and tricks you may not be aware of. Anyway, I quantify my abilities as competing for best painted at gaming tournaments. Not necessarily winning, but in that echelon of painters. But again, by no means am I going to be competing for a Slayer sword or one of those titles that everybody covets. And that is all right. Keep bringing this down a little bit. See how that looks. Yeah, it takes a little while to get this effect going. I actually need to use a little bit more paint. I think it's actually a little too thin. Actually, I'm going to reverse this here because I want to have more of the paint up here for that fade. Oh, there we go. It's coming better up there. part of that reason is because there's already more of the blue paint up there, so it's just accentuating that even more. Alright, so let's go back to that section here. And one thing you might notice, maybe not with this camera, get little specks of paint sometimes when I'm doing this. I don't know if that's me not having cleaned my brush well enough, but if I notice that, I just make sure that I go back over it and, you know, pull out that piece, because the last thing I want to have is little specks of different colored paint in this fade. So one thing to be mindful of. Oh, you're moving the camera, okay. All right. See how this is looking here. So brought it down a little bit more. Think I'm going. Oh, I still need to do some more over here. Don't think I quite have it pulled down far enough. So let's get that area more, a little more paint. Yeah, it's a balancing act with this, because if you have too much paint, excuse me, you'll just color over whatever you're trying to shade, but too little and it just ends up taking, way too long. Again, just be mindful of the edges and also any bubbling you might get, like you're seeing a little bit there. Again, it will dry like that, so unless you really want that effect, I recommend you know, smoothing it out so that it doesn't stay that way. Okay, there we go, it's a little better. Okay. Let's continue bringing this down. I'm actually going to rotate this and see if I can't get a better angle for you guys while I do this. Okay, there we go. Got some better light. Okay, let's try to get this one out a little more. Getting a little bit of pooling going on in that hole. Didn't want to have that, so that's why I was removing it. Back to this area here. A little more down here. Really bring out that blue. I don't want to go too aggressively at the bottom of this, since I want to keep it relatively light. Okay. Very subtle on that. Back over this side. Yeah, I find this just really relaxing. So even though it takes a ton of time to do it this way, I don't mind. Usually I put some music on, but I think YouTube's got some copyright stuff on that, so don't want to anger the copyright gods. That's right, I gotta get some more back here. Get better light over here. Oh, there we go. I didn't think of that earlier. Oh, that's way better. Okay. Right. Bring up more of that coloring. Try to really get drawn out. Up. Yeah, see, you got another little hair in there. Don't know if that's from a cat or just, I don't know. Anyway, it's gone. So, enjoys having 3 animals, one of which who walks on my desk when I'm trying to work. Don't know he went off to, but he's not bothering me anymore, so that's good right now. Alright, so let's work on this here. Continue trying to bring down that color, and you'll see it start to really change color. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's try to get that edge nice and smooth over. I think I'm getting a little bit of those specks of stuff in here now, which I don't want. As you can see, I'm not really afraid to use my finger to kind of pull away some of excess. Clean my brush off again. All right. Oh, there we go. This is really going to bring it out. Yeah, look at that. Wasn't using enough paint before. More than little bits of stuff in here. Off of there. I like to keep a second brush, second, clean brush handy, so I don't use my finger like I've been doing. But anyway, so as you can see here, it's pooling a little bit there, so I'm actually going to get that before it dries and just bring it down. Mindful of the extra blue on the bottom. Alright, so trying to get, let's see here. Got a little bit more to get over here. Oops, that didn't quite come into focus. There we go. Alright, so here it's a little bit uneven. It's gonna fix, oops, yep, more of that black crap. Probably clean my brushes. Bring that up. Sorry, you might be hearing some rattling. My computer fan has been dying for a long time. It needs to get replaced at some point because it's pretty obnoxious, so I apologize for that. There we go. Let's really get that blue pulled out. Yeah, you see I'm going up higher here because again, I really want to make sure I get that fade going up top done. be going over that here pretty shortly with darker color. Let's see here. So, yeah, a little too aggressively here, so I'm actually just use my finger to try to smooth that out a little bit. I'll definitely say I love this miniature, but it took me, I don't know how many hours to get this damn thing totally assembled. Not just assembled, but also green stuffed, because there's a giant gap on this thing right here. Well, anyway, so there's a bunch of gaps. There's a gap here. There's a gap there. So I had to green stuff all these gaps, and sure enough, when I finished painting or priming it, had more problems. So the prep work on this miniature was honestly probably worse than the actual painting of this thing's gonna be. So be forewarned if you get this miniature. It, I'm sure, will be totally worth it, but be prepared to really not like the mold line trimming and green stuffing of any gaps, because if you can assemble this thing without having any gaps or having any green stuff, let me know. I would love to see that. Um, Not saying it can't be done, but I don't see how it could be. So again, hats off to you if you're able to do that. Okay. So that fade's going pretty good. I'm going to actually try to bring up blue fade from black a little bit. I think that's a little too aggressive. Excuse me. A little too aggressively darkened. So let's go ahead and just kind of, oops, that's too aggressively blue. So let's water that down and just kind of spread it around. Again, I'm getting a little bit of foaming there, which will show up, so I'm just gonna gently get rid of that. I'm not gonna worry too much about the pooling in the crevices here too much. I'll worry about that later. Yeah, just gonna lighten up that dark color a little bit. All this is, again, is just that pure Thunderhawk blue. But since it's so thin, it's just, again, gently shading this entire area. And one thing going through this process has really shown me is that I definitely need to get new, bigger brushes. I have a bunch of, size 0 or 00 brushes, but those are great for detail work, not so much for drawing out large areas for glazing. Unfortunately, all of my large brushes that would be great are very old and not quite the best, so I have to work on getting that taken care of here in the next couple of weeks. For now, I'll make do. There we go. Just make that real smooth transition. I think I actually want to bring that up a little bit, so I keep going up higher. And notice here, there's actually a little section. You're supposed to glue that in there, but when I assembled this, it caused this part to move forward, and wasn't going to be able to glue that piece in where they wanted it to be glued in. So I just said, okay, I'll get rid of the little nub on the bottom of the book. And it's actually supposed to go in one of those holes there. But that this is not going to happen. So it's the thing with painting and assembling miniatures is you can go by the book, or you can just adapt on the fly. All that being said, it is much, much easier just to assemble it the way they want you to. But considering I had to actually put some pins in the bottom of this miniature, I was not going to undo that. Okay, how's this coming? Okay, so I'm bringing this fade up a little bit higher there. The back still needs more. Trying to keep that relatively level across the back and the front. So let's continue with that. Oh, it's a little much, but as I said earlier, just go ahead and drag it out of a bigger area. Usually that works. Worst case, you can get some more water and really smooth that out, thin it out even more. Here it's actually doing a pretty good job of fading that. So I'm just going to keep going up. Again, got some little suds here, or foaming, what have you. So I'll just smooth all that out. Don't want any of those little spots drying on here. Oops, I was in front of the camera. Sorry about that. As I mentioned, this is my first time doing anything like this on YouTube, so hope you like it. Hope you learned something. If not, sorry. Try to get better at getting better angles when I'm painting. I'll try to get some stuff posted about, excuse me, about getting different techniques, different tips and tricks that I've learned. Okay, so what we have here. So going pretty good with the fade. I think I pulled it down far enough where I want to go. Question is, do I have the inside of it where I want it? And I do not yet. Still need to darken a little bit inside his cloak. I know it's not the most seen area, but on a miniature of this size, and it is a centerpiece miniature, and I'm treating it as such. So I'm going to put some darker, oops, it's going to be tough to see, some darker colors in there. Basically do some more glazing, just bring some of that dark color up to get the fade going. This is actually a little bit of black mixed in with the Straken green and Thunderhawk blue. It's mixed up in my painting palette. Okay, so I think I got a pretty good go on the blue. I'm going to work on this section here, trying to tone down that. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but it looks a little hazy there, and I don't want that hazy look. So I'm actually going to get some black, pure black paint in this case, as I already have the fade pretty well from what I want. I'm going to put some black in my paint palette, thin it out. And with black, you really want to make sure you have it thinned because it's such a strong color. The good thing, though, is since it's already black, it's just going to nicely darken that. So let's just darken that top part. gonna get some more water. I'm gonna just kind of shuffle this around here to thin that out even more and just draw it out. Try to really get that dark to light blended in. So do some pure black at the very top here, which is still pretty thinned out. Okay, so let's try and do this way. On the back here. That's a little too aggressive there, so again, get some more water. Really kind of smooth that out, draw it out so it's a smoother transition. It's kind of tough with black because you see the sheen, but it's hard to tell exactly how much you actually got on there. Again, I was a little too aggressive there, so I'm getting more of that bubbling, which can lead to some of the inconsistent coloration. Let's get rid of that. And that's partly a problem with my brush. Partly a problem with technique. And of course, camera is not working out too well. There we go, that's better. Got a little bit of fur in there, or hair, so I'm gonna get it. No, I did not get it. Again, the joys of having animals. Love them a lot, but they certainly make painting things more problematic. Okay, so we got it front here. Okay, so I'm really going to try to get that dark in the recess here. Try to do a little bit of shading. Might be a little too aggressive. Nothing time cannot fix. Some more dark up here. Again, I'm just using pure black here, but very thinned down pure black. Well, I think I'm going to kill the feed for now, but I'll be back later and I will be showing off some different techniques and probably continuing to work on the gash some more. So, hope to see somebody